Brandon Marcello, always kind with his time, talking some college football with us after he spent some time down in Destin with the power brokers of the Southeastern Conference. Welcome in, Brandon. How are you today?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thanks a lot. I will ask you if there was a general, well, it's probably too general to ask for a general takeaway from Destin. There was a lot that went on down there. What was your summation of everything you saw down in Destin?
Yeah, it was one of the buzzier spring meetings down there. A lot of chatter, a lot of talk. You went into it with the understanding and from our reporting that the SEC athletic directors are very much on board with the Big Ten athletic directors for the 4AQ format for the future of the college football playoff with 16 teams. But you just never know what the coaches are going to say. And when you have a commissioner like Greg Sankey, who's very much someone who's kind of got an open mind with some things when he goes into these meetings with the understanding of, I represent you guys. What you guys want to do is what we'll do. He's not the type to really kind of force things on them before they really discuss things in length. And so what happened last week was simply the coaches said, we don't want that 4AQ format. And in addition to that, Greg Sankey and the SEC were presenting kind of an argument against the selection committee and their process and the need to maybe include some different analytics in there, which opened up the idea of, well, we'll get more teams in potentially and probably if we were to go with more at-large bursts, which would maybe be a 5+11 format or whatever that would be different from the 4AQs. And now all of a sudden you have the SEC kind of reevaluating their position and mostly the ADs reevaluating their position, and now the Big Ten's kind of sitting there going, what happened to our little partnership we had going here? It's going to be a fascinating next couple of months.
Yeah, because I mentioned this last week to Jim and Lance. I was like, for a long time, it seemed like Greg Sankey and whoever the Big Ten commissioner was were, they were kind of at odds and they were butting heads, and it seemed like they had found a lot of common ground and were almost allies. But now it does feel like that is maybe starting to fracture a little bit. Did I even misread it to begin with, that they had become stronger allies maybe than they ever had been?
Oh, no, they were very strong allies. They're very close. They held those two kind of powwows between the two conferences previously. They had very much been on the same kind of line, wavelength of thinking with a lot of things, especially when it comes to just their position in the A4, the Autonomy 4, and the future of kind of being able to govern themselves after this House settlement, which we're still waiting on. But this kind of tested a little bit, I believe. At least it should. I mean, the Big Ten's been very much trying to push the 4AQ idea. And let's be honest, like the 4AQ position actually mostly benefits the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12 if you actually look at it historically what it would have done, because you're giving the Big 12 and ACC two guaranteed spots every single year. The Big 10, four, of course. And let's face it, the Big 10 is very top-heavy. It's much more top-heavy than the SEC. And while the Big 10 is usually averaged a little over 4, maybe up to 5 bids, potentially if you just went with a straight 16 every year, the SEC has been above them and well above them over the last 11 years. And when you think of the Big Ten, you think of Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and then it's kind of a rough shot of who's after that. And with Oregon and Washington, USC in there now, you could argue that one of them should be in that top 4 or 5, but the Big Ten's just not as deep year to year than the SEC. And that 4AQ model favors and helps the Big Ten more than it does the SEC if you actually look down at it and kind of examine it.
Listen, first of all, the relationship between the SEC and the Big Ten commissioner, it did feel a little bit coming out of Destin like it was the old CBS Big Brother show. Like, hey, we're friends. And all of a sudden he switches alliance. And now the Big 12 and the ACC are like, oh, 5-11. I'm in with that guy. But if it's 4-4, the 4 automatic qualifiers, there's still 3 at-large bids at the end. We're still talking about possibility of 7 SEC teams, right? So the people that are not up for the 5-11 thinks that somehow adds value to the regular season, some regular season games with the automatic qualifiers. Do you feel like the 5-11 somehow takes away from the regular season and the automatic 4 qualifiers add some value to maybe some Big 12 ACC games, maybe to some Big 10 games, maybe to certain SEC games? Does it add some value to the regular season real estate?
It does not add value to the regular season of college football. It adds value to the regular season for the Big Ten and SEC. And let's face it, there are other conferences out there. I know the Big Ten, SEC don't want to admit that. And so it adds value to them. And the reason why, the real deep reason why the Big Ten and SEC won these 4 AQs, one, they got guarantee, but also they could create play-in games for a playoff, which is more inventory they can sell to their media partners. It sets up kind of an extravaganza on championship weekend in December that brings the attention back on them. You also open it up to where your top 6 teams in your conference standings have an opportunity to make the playoff at that point with one of the 4 automatic qualifiers, in addition to maybe getting some at-large spots even beyond that. So that helps the Big Ten and SEC. It doesn't help the rest of college football. It doesn't put more importance on the regular season for the rest of college football. It just puts more importance on the regular season for the Big Ten and SEC. Now, if we're talking about a 5-11 format with 11 at-larges or something similar like that, that makes the regular season more interesting to me for the rest of college football. I don't understand this idea that a 5-11 takes away the importance of the regular season when all we're talking about in the regular season and near the end of it are at-large spots and how the committee is going to react. And as long as the selection committee is around there, there's going to be intrigue and discussion about what's happening in the last few weeks of the regular season when you have more at-large spots. In fact, there will be even more chatter and maybe even more attention paid to it. So when you look at the 4AQ idea, that just really solidifies the importance of the Big Ten and SEC's regular season more than it does the rest of college football. The 5-11 makes it more interesting and more debate during the end of the regular season for all of college football.
I think you just probably answered my next question, but I was going to ask you, is this the last year of us having a human selection committee? Do you think when we do the new format in 2026 that we're going to go back to more of a BCS model?
Great question. I've asked that since December to some administrators, because there's been a lot of pushback at the selection committee, including the Big Ten. I mean, there's, the Big Ten, that the folks there haven't really talked, and the commissioner there has certainly been someone who's been very kind of push-offish with the media. He does not talk to the media. And the Big Ten, I've been told, is much more against the selection committee than the SEC. And we know the SEC, we're down in Destin, there's about a dozen of us left there on the last day, and they're handing out packets of, here's why the selection committee should do what we want. And the Big Ten, I'm told, is much more against the selection committee. They don't even want a selection committee. I don't think we're going to go to a straight computer formula BCS format. And I've talked to several folks who are still in college athletics who have who were involved in the helping of the creation of the BCS, including Joe Castiglione, who kind of led the committee with the BCS at one point. And he's like, he says it's funny how everything's just cyclical. This evil thing that no one wanted, and maybe now everybody's discussing, maybe that's what we want. I think when you get down to it, everybody still wants the human element in there, but maybe there is a way to go with more analytics. And then here's another thing. I don't know why no one brings this up, and I've been bringing it up for the last 3 years. And I'm sure you've probably seen this on social media, what I've been doing. The BCS rankings, the top 25, every year, those final rankings are almost exactly the same as the search committee's top 25 with very low variance. So this idea that the selection committee is just, maybe we got to get rid of them. Maybe we should go back to the computers. In the end, there hasn't been much difference between the two. So what the hell are we really complaining about?
They're basically there to correct the computer if there's a computer flaw, is what it seems like. To your point, you keep watching it, and they've manipulated one or two teams over the years that just sort of corrected a computer mishap, is what it looked like to me.
You're exactly right, because there always was in the BCS, maybe not in the top 2 or 4, But lowering those rankings, there's always like one team like 3 or 4 spots higher. Like that just doesn't make sense because, as you said, in some of those computer rankings, they're weighing one analytic much more over another. But again, we're very reactionary in college athletics. If you feel like you were slighted just in 1 year of something, you want to blow up the whole system and change it. That happens every single year, whether it's a college football playoff, NIL, and everything that's been going on, transfer portal. I mean, we change transfer portals windows, it seems like every 2 years. And we always go, what? This is the one that's going to work. No, we're very reactionary in college athletics, and everybody is changing and tweaking things constantly. And I think this is just another overreaction by the folks about when we talk about the selection committee because of what happened last year with the SEC not getting a 3-loss team into the playoff.
Brandon Marcello is with us on the Alexander Shinora Trial Attorneys Hotline, the Shinora Hotline, the college football reporter for both CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports at B Marcello on social media. Our preview team today is Texas A&M. We've entered the top 25. You know how we do this every year. We let our audience vote. I think there were 44 voters. Is that right, Jim?
46 audience voters.
46 audience voters. They put in their top 25. Jim curates it into the top 40. Texas A&M at 25. And Brandon, they're an 8-win program. It's all really they've ever been with a few exceptions. What changes this year to make them not that, if anything? I mean, can they break out of the 8-win program doldrums that it seems like they're locked in?
Yeah, they can to 9 wins. I don't.
One more.
I don't see it being a massive shift this year. I think they're going to be very similar to last year. The issue last year, of course, was just that meltdown in November, which was kind of surprising. It almost seemed like we were back in the Kevin Sumlin days, didn't it?
Yes.
But, I don't know if they've got the depth right now to go through an entire season and contend to be like a 10-win team or 11-win team. They've got the talent in the starting lineup to contend amongst the big dogs in the SEC this year, but I'm just not quite sold on the depth pieces that they have right now. So, yeah, I'm still kind of there where they're maybe an 8-win team this year. Maybe 7 wins when you look at the schedule, but I'm kind of thinking about 8 wins right now, and they're just kind of in the middle of the pack in the SEC.
Taylor Korn, our great social media director, she has us doing a list all the time, as you guys do at CBS Sports and with your job. And I just, when we do these lists of SEC quarterbacks this year, there seems to be a whole lot of good, but you could do this list and you could have one day you could put DJ Lagway 1, one day you could put DJ Lagway 6, or you could put Arch Manning 1, or you could put him 5th. There seems to be a lot of guys that are good, but there's nobody that just jumps out and, oh, that guy is definitely the all-SEC quarterback. Am I wrong there? I mean, these lists seem like you could just take anybody's list and make a case for that guy being 1 or 7.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree. We go through this every 2 or 3 years in the SEC when we have kind of a mass exodus of veteran guys. Then we have some newcomers where you're going, well, we know these guys are good, and at some point we're going to figure out that like 3 or 4 of these guys are great, but we don't quite know it yet. And so you're kind of in this weird purgatory as someone who's evaluating quarterbacks or whatever, and you're ranking them. You're going, well, the SEC is just good at quarterback right now. When at the end of the season, you're going to see 3 or 4 guys emerge and go, whoa, they're great. You guys were wrong in the preseason. Well, that's just because we hadn't seen them play yet, really. And when the ones we have seen have played sparingly. Or, Arch Manning is considered by many right now to be number 1, but we've only seen him in 3 or 4 games, really, and an extended time. I'm high on Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, but a lot of people are low on him. But he's one of the few quarterbacks who are older in the SEC this year, and though he doesn't have a lot of playing experience, the playing experience he has have been on the big stage. SEC championship game in the second half against Texas to win it, and then in the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame in the college football playoff when they were just teeing off on him because his offensive line was kind of bad, but he was still making some good throws in that game, getting the ball off. So, I think the quarterbacks in the SEC right now are just good on paper. And when you look at the middle half down, you're just like, that doesn't look good. But in the end, we're going to have about 4 guys in the SEC. That's about what it is almost every year when we go through, or every 2 or 3 years when we go through this cycle, where they go, well, those were great guys. And so if I wanted to identify those guys right now, who I think it's going to be, Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, if he can stay healthy. I got questions about his health because he's had two different injuries, and when you have two different injuries on your body and a quarterback, you're probably going to be injury prone the rest of your career. Lagway, I like Gunnar Stockton a lot. And then I think, you're probably going to see like Ty Simpson or someone like that at Alabama emerge. I think Jackson Arnold's not nearly as bad as he was at OU last year. So he's going to be up there, maybe in the top 6 or so or 5 in the SEC. So, yeah, on paper it looks good now, but you're going to see some great quarterbacks emerge by midseason. That's how it is every 3 years.
Listen, you're still a young guy in the sportscasting world. You're young. I had a chance last night to eat dinner and grill out with some old friends in my local TV days, and we were bemoaning this or that about what college football used to be. One guy's a big Florida State guy and says they've screwed up our stadium, it's fragmented, and blah 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 blah. You left Destin. You're sitting here in the summertime. Just the one thing that concerns you about this sport the most, the one thing that if Brandon Marcello loves college football like I know he does, that you worry about the sport the most, what is it?
Well, I think it's something that's been an undercurrent for forever, but it's really amplified the last 10 years. It's just this silo way of thinking that every conference is in a bunker, that they have to do what's best for them, and by God, it doesn't matter what it does to their brethren. We've had the alliance, right, among some of the conferences, and then that included, Kevin Warren stabbing everybody in the back in the Big Ten. Then he leaves and goes to the Bears, and everybody's just like left holding nothing. You got this thing with the SEC and Big Ten teaming up, and then now the SEC's kind of deviated away because they're like, maybe we don't want the 4AQ thing. That doesn't actually sound all that beneficial to us. And then you've got, the A4 governing themselves. Scheduling's an issue. No, there's not universal scheduling in college football. Every, conference is playing different amount of conference games. I mean, this is the benefit of college football is that everybody should be helping each other to help everything remain healthy. We shouldn't be like running this as competing businesses. I never understood why the conferences run this as if everybody is a competitor when they're having to play each other and make contractual agreements every year just to maintain schedules. Why is it that everybody's got to be, if I'm doing well, then you have to die? Why are we treating college athletics like it's a freaking business? I mean, and this is a deep-rooted thing that even goes back to, universities themselves, where it's like, it's higher education. Go get an education. Universities and colleges, it's a freaking business. Otherwise, they wouldn't be charging you hundreds of thousands of dollars for the opportunity to sit down in a chair and listen to someone blabber and teach you things. This whole enterprise is just a business, and everybody's out to get each other. I don't care what anybody talks about, like good of college football and whatever. They all kind of want to kill each other. Like I don't care if you end up suffering because I end up doing well. And that's not what the true fabric of college athletics is supposed to be, right?
Yep.
It just isn't. And it's gotten so much worse the last 10 years, but it's always been happening, and it's only going to get worse, I think. And it always revolves around seismic shifts, like the House settlement stuff. You're seeing more power given to the power conferences. You're going to see more separation between the haves and have-nots because of the revenue sharing. And then also, it always revolves around when TV contracts expire. Again, revolves around the money. And we're heading toward another potential kind of devastation of what we see right now in the early 2030s, because then you're going to see, I'm predicting that we're just going to see consolidation. You're not going to see expansion, so to speak. You're going to see consolidation. You're going to see another conference go away and be swallowed up. And then maybe we end up getting a super league of some sort, whatever. And everybody talks about that. But we're moving in the business world and everything always gets consolidated. Everybody gets gobbled up and consolidated. And that's the model college athletics has decided to follow these last 15, 20 years.
It's kind of a sad way to end.
It's terrible.
It
you know
is.
what's great though?
What?
Saturdays
That's
still
right.
exist on calendars.
yeah,
You cannot take away that from the calendar, and we still have games.
What's crazy is so many people have tried to ruin it, and it just continues to succeed. That's what's wild about it because, number one, we're addicted to it. We're addicted to football as a nation, just football in general, whether it be college or the NFL. We're a football country, so we're addicted to it. That's number one. But number two, it just continues to deliver year after year after year. It is such a – I mean, you're like us, Brandon. You start, as soon as game day's over, and you go to bed when that last game goes off. And it's, I know, and I never get to the end of a Saturday night and think, okay, I've had enough. I get to the end of the Saturday night, and I'm like, if there was another game kicking off, I'd watch it right now.
I'm honestly I'm wired after every Saturday night, whether I'm on the road covering something or whatever.
It's hard
I
to
can't
go
go
to
to sleep for about 3-4 hours. I've been known to not go to bed till about 4 or 5 at night on Saturdays because I'm so wired still. I got a sickness with it.
We're addicted.
But my one worry, I know I'm talking forever, but my one worry is that don't start pricing fans out because things are getting so expensive anyway in the world. But you see some of the tickets and some of the, you get all these fees and everything. Now there's NIL fees with tickets. For example, so you guys know I live in Arkansas. There's a super regional here, and it's a big series, obviously. Arkansas, Tennessee, right, whatever. And the price for tickets are more than for football games, and it's I just wanted to go stand in the outfield and maybe go to a game.
Right.
Just to do that was going to be right now. Yesterday was $135 just to go stand and hope to fight for a standing area in the outfield where it's first come, first serve.
So it was $135 to stand in line to hope you can stand and watch.
That's
crazy.
I don't know. Is everybody else millionaires and I just don't know it?
Yeah.
I don't. How are we doing this?
Hey.
You can't keep doing this to fans, right? You can't keep doing that.
I went over to a friend's house last night, and I was got home, told my wife, I said, we've done it wrong money-wise, man. Everybody else has a lot more money than we do, man. This new house this person had, I was like, wow, man.
But you're having fun.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is Brandon Marcello at @BMarcello on social media. Was with us. Somebody mentioned in the chat the middle eight. Football season will be here. Brandon was with us throughout football season last year with the middle eight. We had fun every Monday morning at 8 o'clock doing that. Read him at CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports. Thank you for the time, Brandon. Always fun talking with you.
All right. See you guys.